Welcome back to the Fantasy Network, everyone. My name is, of course, Jimmy Nuts, and tonight is all about In a Nutshell, which is wrapping up everything I read in the month of June. Love seeing all these lovely people here live, but I know that there's a ton of you that also watch after the fact. And that's totally cool, because tonight, even though this is live, all this is pre-recorded, so you can not pre-recorded, it's live, but recorded so you can watch it after the fact. If you don't want to hear the live chat, which is also a lovely part of this stream, there will be timestamps after I go offline that you can click on to get to the appropriate place wherever the book might be that you want to hear about. We're going to be covering, I think, 5 books. And also at the end of it, I'll be talking about a very unique situation with the Patreon pick last month where I actually got I got asked to watch a fan edit of the Hobbit movies from someone that's part of my Patreon that actually created that edit that is kind of famous on the internet, and we've been blessed with his presence and his editing skills. So I'll talk about that probably at the very end. But we are going to jump into everything I read in June. A bit of a rough month, to be honest. Wasn't the greatest reading month, even though there were some really, really good books in there. It's one of those months where I kind of felt like a fraud, just not reading as much as I really wanted to, even though I got a lot of good stuff done. I don't know, just kind of slumpy. I kind of talked about it last Chatting with Nuts, which was a solo episode, which was really nice, but it wasn't the best. I did think that the month ended on a pretty high note, and there's something coming this month that I am so excited for. So very excited for. I returned to some fantasy worlds this past month in June, and I also visited some new ones that I didn't love, but we're going to get into all of that. And of course, the capstone of this video or stream will be the Patreon pick of the month, where I hope to God that I do not have to draw 3 balls this time. As funny as it was last time, it was a bit stressful, but it all ended up okay for the most part, I guess I would say. So good to see everyone here. Ishin's here, our good friend Amanda, of course. Stromboli Bones, the editor of the War of the Five edits himself, is actually in the house, which is great. Paloma said Jimmy's expression of the thumbnail is making me laugh out loud. Mrs. Nuts did a heck of a job. And let's give a round of applause to Mrs. Nuts for all of the layouts here tonight. The thumbnail, the Patreon pick slide, the Patreon pick process, all of that is running through her, and she makes this channel work. So big shout out to Mrs. Nuts and everything that she does for the channel and for all of us. So very much appreciate K-Fox. Did I read anything in June? I read a lot of stuff, but I don't know. I couldn't get into the groove, but I'm feeling momentum going into July. So I'm hoping. Also, if I get June and July mixed up in the stream, just deal with it. It is what it is. The humidity is melting my brain here. Fantasy Fanatics, in the chaos that is the moving process, this is a most welcome break. I will say this. I hate not doing things on Friday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. That is where the Fantasy Network has made, it's bread and butter. That is where I belong. That's where people expect me to be. But for this week, with July 4th being on Friday and I have a golf tournament, I said, well, we'll do it on the day where literally nothing else ever feels like it's happening, which is Tuesday. I think Tuesday is the worst day of the week, personally. I feel like there's no real claim to it other than Taco Tuesday, which, to be fair, pretty nice. I also used to go to Texas Tuesday, back in the Karma nightclub in Morgantown, West Virginia. Shout out to anyone who's ever been to Texas Tuesdays. But I just feel like Tuesday, we could use something to perk it up. So I said, well, let's do it on Tuesday. Paloma said, I read less than usual in July, kind of slumpy lately. I think The Devils was my fave. Yeah, I continue to see extremely pessimistic reviews of The Devils crossing my eyes every now and then. And I'm just so sad for the people who didn't enjoy it, because I had such a good time. There are so many people here that are blessing the chat with their presence. I just want to say, I very much appreciate everyone that tunes in live, and also all the people after the fact as well. Always feels good to come back to the community, touch base, see what people are reading, talk about what I'm reading, work out my thoughts in a live format. It's difficult, but also very exhilarating, which is really, really nice. Andrew Krall said, was the traveling hotel so bad that Jimmy just shuts down the channel? We'll have to talk about it. For a second, I panicked thinking it's Friday. Hello, Jimmy. I wish it was Friday. Michael Price, don't mind me just wandering in to the chat for the first time. I see what you did there, and I like it. Hopefully I don't disappoint you a little bit later. Giving some love to the Targaryen shirt. We love to see it. Listen, Mrs. Nuts is flawless. This is true, except whenever she misspells things on some slides. But that's okay. That's all right. Read by Kyle's here. By the way, Kyle, condolences. Lost a beloved pet, a beautiful rabbit that Kyle gave 8 great years to. And that bunny has passed on. And Kyle, our thoughts are totally with you. Losing a pet is always a really tough thing. So I'm glad you're here, and I hope that you're doing okay. He said, holy crap, I can attend a Jimmy Nuts live. First time ever, maybe. I think it is one of the very first times, for sure. And BellTube, you have it correct. It is the Tuesday night delight. That's what we're doing here. Tuesday, a.k.a. Monday 2. Is there anyone in the world that their favorite day is Tuesday? That's what I would like to know. Let's do this. Putrid Center, I said, Tuesday is worth it for the great line from the Street Fighter movie. I don't know that. I am an idiot. don't know my Street Fighter lore. So let's jump into it. We're going to jump in with one that I started last month, May, and read into June. And this was actually a recommendation from our great friend BellTube, Brian from BellTube. Go check him out. He's an amazing booktuber and an amazing human being. We love to see him. And we love to see a good recommendation because, you know, sometimes recommendations, there's a lot riding on it, especially for someone who has an infinite amount of books in his house that he still needs to read because I have a consumerism problem. This was a certified slammer, Arthur C. Clarke. First time reading him. He's obviously a legend, a massive influential piece of the science fiction genre, has his own award, which is actually really platformed some really amazing authors and catapulted their career. Childhood's End. This is a first contact story. It is super existential and it is phenomenal, in my opinion. I think that if you are a fan of the 3-Body Problem, I think this is the precursor. Now, 3-Body Problem, or Remembrance of Earth's Past, is a trilogy, right? It goes way further. But I think Arthur C. Clarke was playing with a lot of the same elements and doing some really mind-blowing things. This is an absolute if you love Remembrance of Earth's Past, like there's no asterisk next to it, this is for you. I think the characters in Childhood's End are actually better than the 3-Body Problem trilogy by far. With that said, there's still classical science fiction idea first book characters. So they're not the greatest characters of all time. But I did find myself, especially in the first like 25 to 30% of this book, getting really, really attached to some of the characters here and feeling for what they were going through because it is a mind-boggling situation. And where he ends up taking it is one of those things where I think people's imagination is so impressive because I can never quite get there. I mean, I love astrophysics. I love thinking about the what ifs, all the theoretical stuff, but I'm never quite able to take it to like extremes. I always dial myself back. Like that's unrealistic, but to see like Clarke go for it, I guess is the way I would describe it, was really amazing. And the best part about this book, the best part is that it's like 180 pages or 200 pages. I mean, it's nothing. It goes by so fast. I was enamored by it. I mentioned on my last Chatting with Nuts that First Contact is just something I'm really interested in. I always have been. And I have starved myself of like a lot of First Contact stories. Like I haven't read a lot of them, unfortunately, even though it's one of my favorite tropes. And this just completely reignited the flame. I wanted to get more into it. I'm currently reading The Mountain and the Sea by Ray Naylor, I believe, which is a different type of First Contact, but still scratching that itch. But this was wonderful. The only gripe I have with this is that, you know, like a lot of stuff that you read back from the 50s or 60s or 70s or even 80s, whatever, there was just one piece that was really weird in it, and it dealt with race. And while it wasn't the most like aggressive or like horror, like, you know, horrible thing I've ever read, it just, you know, different time period. From what I know, Arthur C. Clarke was actually a pretty well, I shouldn't say that because I don't know everything about Arthur C. Clarke, but he seems like a fine guy. He just had some stuff in there that I don't think, racial wise, I didn't think aged super well. It's a very tiny piece of the book. But you know, I shouldn't say I expect it, but I'm not surprised when I see it in some of the older works from decades ago. It was definitely, it reminded me a lot of Ender's Game, where like Ender's Game has this one piece of like like racial tension or like a racial like point to make. And you're just like, why is this in this book? This doesn't make any sense. Like, why did you have to do that? And that was like my biggest problem with Ender's Game. It was just like out of nowhere. Orson Scott Card just was like, let me tell you something. You're like, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Arthur C. Clarke had a little bit of that moment, but way less annoying than Orson Scott Card, in my opinion. So that's really the only gripe I have with this book, except for the fact that Childhood's End, man, would I love there to be more of this book. It is 200 pages, and it could have went for another 200, and I would have been just fine with that because I really, really love it. Also, I try not to look at chat as I'm talking about a book, but I was wondering if anyone would have. Apparently, there's some stuff with R.C. Clarke. I'm not here to comment on his character or anything, but the piece of the book I wanted to address. So I don't know anything about R.C. Clarke. Don't care to be honest. But yeah, I thought this book was really, really interesting. I thought it felt pretty fresh, even though it's many decades old. And that is a wonderful surprise. I felt this way about, a couple different older sci-fis. Obviously, Hyperion would have been one of them. But even something like Foundation, right, by Asimov. A lot of people give Asimov crap because his writing's really dry. I mean, it's just the epitome of like classic sci-fi. I like that stuff. I like Asimov quite a bit. I have the review for the Foundation trilogy here on the channel, and it's actually one of my more popular reviews. And I've had a lot of cool conversations around Foundation, but like I would be remiss to pretend as if it's the best writing of all time, right? I think Arthur C. Clarke is like adding on to that and kind of like the next step in that maybe. I'm not going to make big grandiose things because I what do I know? I'm not that really well read in sci-fi as many other people are here on YouTube and reviewers and whatever. But yeah, I thought this was sick. I thought it was fun. I thought it was great. And I am going to give this the nut button. I've been trying to save it for overwhelmingly positive books, but I felt like this one deserved it. Spoiler alert, there are actually no overwhelmingly positive books, unless if I forgot what I labeled one of them. It was, like I said, it wasn't the greatest month. I felt like Childhood's End was probably tied with my book of the month, if I had to guess. But this was awesome. Don't be afraid that it's so old and you're not going to be able to get through it. The characters are not going to be the most fleshed out things of all time, but like if you're there for that existential feeling of first contact and like what that would mean for the human race and how would we handle that thing and communication back and forth, I think this is awesome. I think this is pretty swell. And I would definitely recommend it to you if you're interested in a first contact sci-fi, regardless of age or anything else, or how many books you've read in the genre even. And if you are a Three Body Problem fan, I think it's like, and you just want more of that, like feeling of existential dread, I think this is a no-brainer, personally. So let's see if anyone in the chat has read this. I mean, this book is very, very popular. I was an idiot whenever BellTube mentioned it, saying, hey, have you heard of this book? I'm like, no. Everyone in the chat was like, I have. So I felt pretty dumb. But hey, we're getting back on track. We're going to read some good classic sci-fi and become better read in the genre. Let's see. Okay, there's some love for Tuesday. Talking Stories here. Welcome. Mittens said, now my Tuesday is officially made. Well, I love to see that. I do. I'm trying to see if there's anyone here. Yeah, Books of Bang's concept. I read Childhood's End 2, loved it, read so fast. I agreed, Ben. I rocketed through this book unlike any other book that I read this month. It was not hard to pick up, and it was very hard to put down. I think I could have honestly read it in like 1 or 2 sittings if I really had the time, and wouldn't have regretted it at all. Next up is Rendezvous with Rama. Obviously, it's being made into a movie by the very famous director whose name I cannot pronounce, so I'm not going to try. But it's the Dune guy, okay? So I'm pretty excited for that, and I would like to read the book before it comes out. Sam Y said, it's good to be here after what has been a pretty awful work week. I'm sorry, Sam, and I totally get it. Trust me. I totally get it. Putrid Sunrise said the ending is crazy. This is the type of ending to a book. 1, I thought it was fabulous, but 2, just had me kind of like going back to that ending all month long. I kept going back to the end of that book, and I'm not the biggest fan of endings in general. Like I don't care about them as much. In fact, I would say I kind of like a messier ending more than I like a tidy ending, which I'll talk about with another book later on. But the ending of this book, I just felt very satisfied reading it, and it left me with many thoughts and introspection and a lot of what ifs, which can be a lot of fun and also kind of scary when you're talking about this type of thing and what it means to be like a part of the cosmos and part of the universe. This wild thing that we're just floating around in. I mean, very cool. I very much like it. Holly said, awesome. I'm enjoying Remembrance, but characters are a little flat. Yeah, I think that Arthur C. Clarke's characters are better, but, you know, don't go in expecting the deepest character work of all time. It's not that. It's not that at all, but it's just better than Three Body Problems characters, which isn't saying much, to be honest. Even though I enjoyed the Three Body Problem characters more than I think most people did because of the kind of the philosophies they were representing, I guess. But in my opinion, I do think the Childhood End has better characters. I remember it saying that 3 billion people would be enough to smother the planet. That didn't age that well. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Reader's Journey said he hates the cover. Here, let me throw it back up. Yeah, there's a lot of different covers for this book, and I would say that this isn't the best one. If someone has a good cover and can recommend it, I would love to see that. But yeah, not the greatest. There's some Arthur C. Clarke controversy. Well, it is what it is, right? Bangus Khan said, I was expecting it to feel more cliched, but I was so pleasantly surprised how things just felt so fresh and surprising about the human-alien interactions. Yeah, and also, you know, with this being such a classic, I do think you can see its influence on a lot of works, not just a Three Body Problem, but I immediately also thought of Arrival. I don't know if anyone else did, but I thought of Arrival for sure. Man, it was good. It was good. The Naked Sun, best Asimov I've read. Thorno, I don't know if I've actually heard of The Naked Sun. I will have to look that up. Putrid Sunrise said you should try his Space Odyssey series as well. Everyone knows 2001, but the sequels are fascinating as well. That was what I had always originally planned to read from Arthur C. Clarke first, and then Rendezvous with Rama is like legendary, so I also wanted to read that. At this point, like where it stands now, I would say that I'm definitely down to read a lot more of Arthur C. Clarke, but who knows? Maybe Childhood's End was a one-off. I don't know. Rendezvous with Rama, I will not be hitting it soon, Kyle. It'll probably be before the movie comes out, but I don't think maybe we are, but I don't think we're close to the movie coming out. But his books are also fairly short, which is definitely a way to move up my TBR. Josh Ramirez says, classic sci-fi tends to have just the right page count. Wanting more is their goal. Love this one. I always say you want to leave people wanting more and not overstaying the welcome. You don't want people to feel like it's time to wrap it up, which, you know, ironically, this channel has been around for 5.5 years, and I know there's people being like, are you done yet? Like, could you just close the doors on thing? Not yet. Not yet. Okay, Comrade Nerd said, I've read several of Clarke's books, but I haven't read Childhood's End yet, moving it to the top of the TBR. I love to hear that. Jack said Elliot Brooks and her group doing the Three Swords along did not care for the Dragonbone chair. That doesn't surprise me. A lot of people don't like the Dragonbone chair because it's, you know, a very slow, for some boring. I liked it. But that's a shame. I mean, I wish they would have liked it. But I'm also not surprised. I would say Dragonbone chair is probably one of the least successful recommendations I've ever made, in the sense that like more people come back to me and say they hate it than they love it. So it's not shocking. Mitch said, I've been stealing all your overwhelmingly positive book energy, living in a golden age over here. I feel like Scrooge McDuck diving into a pool of overwhelmingly positive books. Wow, that's where they all went, apparently. My goodness. My goodness. Shad's reading Rendezvous with Rama right now. Love to hear that. Brent, you have in fact not missed the Wandering Bin talk yet. Oh, Charles Dance was in the miniseries adaptation. Yeah, I saw the Childhood End had an adaptation. Has anyone seen it, and is it worth my time? And when I say that, I mean it has to be like at least an 8 out of 10. If it's a Sci-Fi Channel 6, I'm out. Okay. Oh, the Shadow says people didn't enjoy characters from the Three Body Problem. I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. The popular take is that the characters are terrible, which maybe they are. I think they suit the story well. Doug said Naked Sun is part of Asimov's R. Daniel Olival, I butchered that. Series of mysteries, and the first book in the series is Caves of Steel. Thank you. I will add that to the TBR for sure. And the Rendezvous with Rama movie apparently doesn't have a script, so we chilling. We good. Oh, okay. Naked Sun is one of Asimov's robot books, I believe. Those are the only Asimovs I've read, but I love them. All right, if K-Fox loved them, then we're probably good. Hayward says, Memory Star and Thorn, absolute banger. Hey, I agree. I loved it. Yeah, there's a lot of people saying that Denise V, is it Denny? Denny V? I don't know. He's also doing James Bond after Dune, so the Rendezvous with Rama movie might be a while. Could be. Could be. Jack said, really? I had never heard booktubers trash Memory Star and Thorn before. Then there was a whole panel who agreed that they hated it. What are the odds of that? So, Jack, I get a lot of comments on my videos. I get messages. Things just come across me. And I unfortunately, see a lot of hate for the things I like. It actually kind of skews my opinion. Sometimes not my own personal opinion, but like my perception of how books are received is very different, I think, just from getting so much exposure to different things. But I've had so many people tell me they hated Dragon Bone Chair and they hate Tad. But, not everyone's going to like every book that you enjoy. And I could definitely see some reasons why people might not get along with it based on taste and whatever, or where they're at, where they've been reading fantasy. Like, there's so many variables, right? I'm never shocked when someone dislikes a book. It's hard to shock me with a reaction to a book, but I also tend to take it pretty well when people don't like my favorite books, just because I'm like, well, it doesn't change how I feel about the book. It might offer a new perspective, but rarely will it ever affect the personal experience that I had with a work. I mean, I had Steve Donahue on, and he told me that I was like, I love Stoner, and he's like, you don't. And I'm like, no, I do. And he's like, you're lying. And I'm like, I don't know how to interact with you. Steve was great. It made for really, really good content. I loved it. All right. So we got some people ordering Childhood's End. I love to see it. I think if you're someone who wants to get into sci-fi and First Contact interests you, like, it's a great entry point. Let's do it. What's up, Tom Orange? Great to see you. Fantasy Fanatic said, speaking of sci-fi, that Project Hail Mary trailer looked great. I didn't watch it, but I heard it. People seem very, very excited. Very, very excited. So, and yeah, there are spoilers in the trailer for Project Hail Mary. So, but that's not unique to Project Hail Mary, by the way. I haven't watched a movie trailer in like 10 years that I didn't want to be spoiled for. Like, I went and watched The Sinners, lovely movie. Maybe lovely is a weird word. Great movie. But I didn't watch any trailers because I didn't want to know. It's like, I know they're going to ruin way too much. So I kind of kept it in the dark there. What's up, Dark One Stank? Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, you were shocked that 7 out of 8 did. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. But also, Jack, let's think about that. This happens a lot. I see this all the time, and I'm not immune to it. But like, if you're reading a book with people, usually you're updating each other. Maybe they weren't. I don't know. But like, when you're reading with a group of people, and let's say the first 4 people that jump out ahead of it hate it, that can affect it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could skew your perspective as you start to read to be negative. So I feel like it's rare to see a large divide between opinions on a panel if they had been communicating the whole time they were doing it. Not saying that that's not how they would truly feel or whatever, but I see what you say. 7 out of 8 is a lot. It's a ton. Yes, and also we have to keep this in mind that there's ratings well outside of YouTube, even well outside of Goodreads, and it's hard to ever pinpoint. For instance, a lot of people said Wind and Truth was a failure of a Stormlight book. I was mixed on it, whatever. But like, if you actually look, I mean, the reception of it as a wide audience was very positive. Apparently, Sinners had a really bad trailer. But then someone said the trailers were good. I don't know. I didn't watch it, and I loved it. Brent said Rama and Childhood End both are fantastic. Also hate tuning in here and hearing about people not liking Tad and Memories on Thorn. Shame. It is a shame, isn't it? But it's all good. We're getting some more Osnard books, by the way. I don't know if anyone saw that. Tad had actually talked about one of them, at least, when he talked to me on Chatting with Nuts. And it sounds like it's moving ahead, which is pretty great. Shall we move on to the second book in a Booker Prize winner of The Prophet Song by Paul Lynch? This is I've heard it described as like Irish 1984 in a more current year. Gets blended into literary fiction, but also sci-fi. This book is all about fascism taking over Ireland and the suspension of rights. I mean, all the things you could imagine that would be terrible, no one should ever want to happen where they live, happening. And this has a quote, and I think this really sums up Prophet Song in just a really neat way, which is, the end of the world is a local event. And that is what this book is about. It is the ending of a world as these people know it. And it is something that destroys a family, I think, almost completely. And this book is very intimate in the sense that you hear about the bigger things happening and it's all playing a role, but the real bread and butter of this book is the impact that it has on the family and through the characters. And I did like this book. I want to say I think that the writing was excellent. I think Paul Lynch is wonderful with his writing. However, this book has no paragraph breaks. This book has no quotation marks around dialogue, and it is absolutely on purpose. It filled me with almost a sense of dread as I was reading, and you're like poring over these words. I stopped looking for paragraph breaks. I stopped looking for quotation marks, and it was effective for what it wanted to do. But that made this 200 or 300 page book so hard to read. I did not really want to engage with it. I felt like a lot of the stuff Paul Lynch was saying was absolutely true. This was written back in like 2021, I think, 2020, something like that. Absolutely true and really well done. But it's like, I don't know if I'm the person that needed to hear it, if that makes sense. And even though I like the writing and I understand the choice, I'm sorry. I just use paragraph breaks at the very least. Okay. I love a lot of authors that don't use quotation marks, and I used to defend it to death. But honestly, if someone comes to me and says, hey, I'm not going to read this because there's not proper punctuation, I'm at the point now where I'm like, I get it. And if that makes me dumb or whatever, that's fine. I understand the intent behind the way this book is written, but to say that it wasn't just absolutely exhausting and bleak and depressing, it's probably one of the more depressing books I've read, but not because it's overtly like gory or whatever, right? So it was a bit of a weird book. I can understand why it was praised for its writing because the prose is fantastic, but it was a chore to read most of the time. It took a lot out of me, and it certainly did not help with my reading slump. The Booker has been... Like, there's a lot of people who don't like the Booker Prize. I got to be honest with you. I've had nothing but success with the Booker. This is probably the biggest dud to come from the Booker for me. So many good stories have won the Booker. And it's a prize I do look at. And I'm not super into it. So I know there's a bunch of people who are like, actually, it's not good anymore. Whatever. I don't care. It's been good to me. So is the Pulitzer. But this is probably the most disappointing Booker for me. Not because I think it's a horrible book, but I just was expecting so very much with this. My buddy read this with Yolanda from StoryTube, my good friend who lives in Ireland. And we've been talking about reading this book since it won the Booker. And when we finally got down to it, excited to jump into it, shorter book. And I think we both came away just really exhausted by it. So I'm mostly positive on this book because I did enjoy the story. I thought the ending was pretty... A lot of people are not going to like the ending, but I like the ending. And it's very much like a open-ended type deal. You know, something's happening and what happens next, who knows? I don't think many of you will like it. I think this is going to be a hard sell. I would say I'm mostly positive because I thought the writing was really nice and I did like the story of it. That's about it. So, exhausting book, not very fun to read. Don't read it if you're in a bad headspace. Not going to be a good thing. But for me, I do sit here and just think, how many more people could enjoy this book if you just added paragraph breaks? And I understand the intent, but still, that's a question, and that's a decision that the artist has to make. So let's see. I doubt many of you have read this book, and I don't know who I recommend it to, which is probably one of the harder things to say about a book whenever I cover it. But I did not hate it, and I didn't dislike it. I disliked the structure of it, but that's different, right? So, Doug said there's a bunch of books that everybody loves that don't work for me. Sad for me, but that's about it. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that I wish I enjoyed as much as other people. We'll get to that. We'll get to that soon. Rodrigo said, unrelated, I would love for the director of Sinners to adapt Red Rabbit, seeing how he was great with the Western horror story. Oh, I'm so in on that. I'm so in. Jack said, fair. I read Faulkner and had no idea what the hell was going on. I've only attempted Faulkner once, and I felt the same. Samwise said, wait, Wandering Inn didn't win a Booker Prize? No, it did not. Zeely Green said, nope, Prophet Song was just not for me. Not surprised at all. I'll be shocked if there's more than one person in this chat that has read it. Brent said, when I hear Booker Prize is when I regret I'm watching live and can't skip. You could always wait for the timestamps. I don't know. I think the Booker, a lot of great books have won the Booker. I like it. But I don't know. I'm also a weirdo that likes boring books. Evie said stream of consciousness. I don't think so, actually. It might be better if it was. Now, there is a lot of inner monologue and thinking, but now I don't think I would classify as stream of consciousness, but I'd like to hear what Yolanda has to say about that. Yeah, Zeely Green said, yes, Prophet Song writing made me feel claustrophobic. It absolutely had a physical effect on me, which is, that's the intent, but it doesn't make it any easier to read. Comrade Nerd said, no paragraph breaks or quotation marks. In the words of Hulk Hogan, they ain't going to work for me, brother. Yeah, we don't do jobs around here, and we certainly don't take bumps. Most people who are likely to support fascism are not in the market for allegories about fascism. I agree, Jack. I agree. Yeah, most people who are likely to support fascism don't even know what fascism is. I agree. Wait, didn't Wolf Hall win a Booker? Folks, I don't hate Wolf Hall. I said I wanted to give it more attention, so I put it down for the time being. Come on now. I wonder how this one would feel on audio then. Tom, I actually did the back. No, I probably did like 75% of this book on audio, and I did find the book more digestible that way. Still like dreadful as far as impact on just like your overall mental state. So do with that what you will. But yeah, I do think it's easier to digest on Audible. Audio for those who don't shop at Amazon. A Brief History of Seven Killings also won a Booker. Pretty fantastic. Fever said, sounds like Nemander section and Told the Hounds, to be totally honest. I could kind of see it. I could kind of see it. Jilly Bean said, color me intrigued, depressing, and bleak are my buzzwords. If you try it, Jilly Bean, come back and tell me. And I would love to see what you think, because like I do not recommend this book very confidently. Like I don't know who the hell I recommend this to, unless if everything I said sounds really good, go check it out. I mean, if you're a fan of like 1984, right? And you want to see like books that are inspired by 1984, this would probably be a decent one to pick up. Like if you want to follow that lineage of influence, that would probably be good. So Dylan's Book Nook said, I'm going to read the entire Booker long list again this year, 6 or 7 in a row. Are you going to try? No, I am not going to try. I would fail spectacularly at that goal. If I were to plan for it, maybe I could do it next year. But it's doubtful. It's doubtful. I love the idea of reading projects, and people who do them, I think are like, I always think it's really fun to follow that kind of stuff. Joseph reads books, does reading projects all the time. So I'm excited that you're trying that out. I think it'll be really cool. K Fox says, sounds like the exact brand of depressing that I can't handle. I couldn't either. Feels like a Cormac book. I'm in. So this author has been compared to Cormac quite a few times, minus the teenager in Mexico stuff. Doug said, I generally consider the Booker Prize to be an anti-recommendation rebuttal presumption. Okay. Fair enough. Like, here's the thing. If you've read a bunch of Booker Prize winners and they haven't worked for you, totally fine. But I also feel like it's just like one of the, and I'm not saying this is you, Doug, by the way, not saying this to you at all, but I see this online all the time. People who have never read a Booker Prize winner hate the Booker. Ironic. I don't know. I think it's funny. Not, again, Doug, I'm not saying that that's you. I'm just saying in general. But if you're someone who's read like, nominees and prize winners, you're like, all these suck. Hey, you shouldn't read any more Booker. You're like, it's not the prize. It's not going to work, right? It's not going to be a good recommendation. So PNW said, sup, Jimmy, finishing Empire of Science today and starting Red Rabbit. Thanks to your review. Sounds right up my alley. Hell yeah. Red Rabbit is banger, dude. For sure. Prophet Song V for Vendetta? No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe they're in the same like realm, but I don't know. Red by Kyle says, wow, Jimmy collecting that Amazon ad money so seamlessly. Yeah, Bezos, big fan of the network for sure. Samokidu said, hey, Jimmy, guess what? I'm starting Gardens of the Moon tomorrow. Good luck. Have fun. Remember, it's quite literally just a book. People overblow it. Failure is all part of the process. That's what I'm waiting for the success part to kick in. Belltube said, what about the Booker T Award? Oh, Booker T. I have a story about Booker T. Okay, let's get on to the next one, which is just good old-fashioned fantasy, and it is Sir Terry Pratchett with Guards. This is my first dive in to the City Watch books, and this is probably the one that has been the most hyped that I know of, actually. The only one that's been more hyped to me was Small Gods, because people personally think I would like this, but this is a book that just seems to be kind of universally recommended in Discworld. Some people argue it's not actually a good starting spot. I don't really care about all that stuff, or where it is, where it isn't. I don't care. I like this book. I like this book a lot. I have read Mort, Reaper Man, and I can't remember if I read Soul Music. I don't think I have yet, but I can't remember. So Guards is my good friend Alan from Library of Alexandria, one of his favorite books. He's went on and on and on about Sam Vimes, and this all makes sense because this book has to do with order and, undeniable application of justice and law and following the rules, not giving exceptions. Also has a really cool angle of a villain being someone who is just waiting in the wings to take advantage of people's like superstitions or kind of like almost like appealing to their desire of wanting to be ruled. I thought all of this was really cool. The middle of the book drug just a little bit for me, just a little bit, which is not unique to Guards. I also felt this way in more so Reaper Man. And I think that that's just me sometimes getting worn out a little bit by the way Terry Pratchett just delivers zinger or one line, whatever it might be. I mean, he's doing some really great stuff here, but the humor is not always for me, but I did laugh a lot at this book. And it did have, as I put down below, a lovely cast. I thought the cast of characters were just full of life and fun to learn about. They bounced off each other very, very well. I thought the camaraderie in the watch and the banter back and forth is awesome. And the thing about old Sam is that I have been told so much about who he ends up being and what he represents. And I've just heard him talked about so much that I met him before I think he becomes like the real figure in Discworld that he is. Like this book is very much him becoming that. And now that I've gotten out of that intro phase, I feel like I'm going to enjoy the watch books a lot more. So I think there was a little bit of that element to it. Is like I kind of knew what to expect out of this book, and I was I don't want to say I was bored by it or anything like that, but it was almost like, oh, okay, I know where this character arc is going to lead because I know about this character from people talking about it. So now that that character's actually developed to that point, I think from here on out it'll be great. So yeah, it was very fun. There's sometimes whenever I read a Terry Pratchett sentence that I will go back and read it 2 or 3 times and just be like, man, what a clever way of putting together words. That can, by the way, it can be a little bit fatiguing, but there are just times where you're just like, man, this guy really gets it. And I will say this, now that I have went into a different sector or section of Discworld's becoming more appealing to me in the sense that there's this wild world where all these crazy things are happening and it's like all contained. It almost feels like a place you can go visit. Right? It feels like you can kind of count on a story being told there that's at least going to be entertaining, that's going to be well written, even if it doesn't completely appeal to every single taste bud that you have in reading. I like that. I like learning more about Discworld. I like meeting new people in Discworld. And also some of the commentary that relates to our world and our lives, I think is pretty great. So yeah, big fan. I'm positive on this. I like the Mort books more, or Mort, the Death books more, or Mort, if you will. Not to say that I think Guards is going to have longer legs with me. I think the sequels are probably going to end up being something I enjoy more than this first one, and will probably like it more than Death as well. I think the next one for me is either going to be Men at Arms, which would be the sequel to this, or Small Gods, because Small Gods, I've been told numerous times that it is for me. And I've also read the first, I think, chapter where it talks about the turtle and the eagle, and I thought it was awesome. So I loved it. Another good thing to know is that this has a very like classical, tidied up ending with, I felt like almost everything resolved. Very happy with the ending. But there are times, and this is where I said I'm a weirdo. I kind of referenced this earlier. I sometimes really like a messier ending that leaves things a little bit more open-ended. I didn't feel like, man, I would like to know what happened next. I didn't really ponder much stuff at the end of the book, which is totally fine. It feels like a very completed story, a completed tale in Discworld, but the ending's just super tidy, which is great. A lot of people are going to love that. It's going to be like their favorite thing about the book, probably. But for me, it closed and I just said, okay, I had a good time. I had a really good time. Oh, by the way, love Carrot. Absolutely loved Carrot. Shout out to Mrs. Nuts for this layout, by the way. She always asks me about Easter eggs, and there's a couple here that you could see. So let's see what people think of Guards. Let's see. A lot of people are loving it. Anitha is taking me to task for only being just positive. Yeah, I just came, and to be fair, also, I was in a pretty bad reading slump, so that could have affected it, but I really liked it, and I want to read more Discworld, so I feel like it's probably a good sign. So, please tell me you laughed as much as me. I did laugh a lot, but not throughout the whole book, unfortunately. Alan is at the top. I hope people can see it. It's pretty great. Would you say that Alan's placement of Sam, I like calling him good old Sammy, Sam Vimes as the paragon of virtue is misguided? No, not at all. But I don't think he starts out with Sam Vimes being that person. So I was kind of just waiting for it to happen. Going postal is very good. Okay. Someone has spotted the carrot. I love it. Glad to catch you live. Love the layout. Hey, thank you. Big shout out to Mrs. Nutt. She does all of them. I like Discworld a lot, but definitely need to be in the mood for one. Yeah, for me, it's certainly a mood thing. Ironically, today, we were at the bookstore, and I thought about buying Men in Arms in the new, like, American paperback, but I have the hardcovers. Actually, the cover here is the one I have, and they're like these little hardcovers from the UK, and I can't not buy a matching one, or I probably would have picked up Men at Arms today. So I need to order this version of Men at Arms from the UK. If you guys have not seen the UK versions, they're like little hardbacks. They're awesome. They're cheap for what they are too. I think the American version's actually more expensive. Dude, I love when people see Mrs. Nuts has fun. She has a lot of fun making these layouts. Let me tell you. I hear her like laughing over at the computer. I'm like, what are you doing? Nothing. Okay. Thorn also, I like the witches best. That I'm also very keen to get to the witches as well. Question for you Discworld people. Is Small Gods part of like a series, like, Guards of Guards is like an inner series, or is it just a kind of a standalone Discworld novel? I would love to know. Also, and I feel dumb for this, but whatever. I don't pretend to be smart. I didn't know that Terry Pratchett had written other fantasy works and stuff that wasn't Discworld, and I'm very keen on trying those out. Just to see what he would be like outside of Discworld. I think it'd be really cool. Brady said, I really need to read more Discworld. I've only read the Death novels. Yeah, at this point, this is my first non-Death novel. I did like Death a little bit more. Red by Kyle said, Small Gods is good. Agree you would probably really like it. Maybe my favorite Discworld so far besides Hogfather. I should really try to get up to Hogfather for Christmas. I know that's a quintessential Christmas read, and maybe I could do a Hogfather read along on the channel. That'd be a lot of fun. The Advocate said, you are definitely a weirdo in that regard for open endings, all due respect. Listen, I am not typical in some ways. In some ways, I'm very basic. I really like pumpkin spice lattes and bagels. I mean, that's pretty basic. But yeah, I'm a weirdo when it comes to endings. Always have been, though. That's not a new thing. That's Mrs. Nutt's can attest that. She's been around like 10 years. She can attest that way before this YouTube channel, I've always been like that. Small Gods is the best book if you want to know what Terry Pratchett is. Interesting. Very, very interesting. K Fox said, yes, I strive to be more like Carrot in my life. Carrot is just an endearing character. So good. was really the moment where I was like, you know what? This cast is pretty remarkable. I would say it's probably my favorite part of the book, actually, is the cast. Jimmy, what's an ending that comes to mind that you love but is really messy? Dark Tower. Now, with that said, there's things about the Dark Tower 7th book that I think are terrible and some of the worst parts of the series. But there's a lot about the ending I do like. I mean, messy ending, things that people hate. I'm trying to think. I could probably think of, if I sat down, might be a cool video, like controversial endings that I happen to like. I've also went on these big rants about endings of things and how they change over time by perception and how the media is ingested it and the length of time given to it. But, you know, for instance, so the Sopranos ending was very controversial at the time. I didn't know that until after. I loved it. I thought it was great the first time I watched it, personally. Doug said, Pratchett is one of those authors that everyone else likes. Fair enough. I know a good amount of people in my Discord that do not like Terry Pratchett, which is cool. Honestly, I think, he's in some ways, like any other person, has like a very distinct style and very in your face with it. You will know probably within 100 pages of whether you want to read any more of his books based on his style. And any author that does that, I have a good amount of respect for. So I'm not shocked that people could bounce off Pratchett. He's not my favorite author by any stretch of the imagination, but I do enjoy it. And like, I will say this, I feel really excited. Like when I look at the fantasy genre and I look at things I haven't read, there's so many things from like the 70s and 80s and 90s that I could still get to, and I will. Kate Elliott, Green Rider, like a million things. But it is nice to know that like there's a bunch of Discworld novels hanging out over here if I ever want to go read them. To me, that's exciting because a lot of my favorite series are either complete or there's not going to be any more book, whatever it might be. So there's the fact that even though it's not my favorite, it's like reliable. It's there. There's a lot of them. And I like them enough to definitely pick them up whenever I am in the mood. She was only even said, order from the Discworld Emporium. They benefit Terry Pratchett's estate directly. I will do that. Thank you. And Small Gods is a standalone that works for me. That's pretty fantastic. People really like Hogfather. Jimmy, read Nation. Don't tell me what to do. Wait, what's Nation about? I'll look it up after the stream. I'm very interested. Johnny Boy. Hey, Jimmy. Hey, chat. Hope you're well. Hope you're doing good after your hole-in-one at mini golf, my friend. How I Met Your Mother ending. I've never seen it. I don't like Jason Segel. That's another hot take I probably have. Interesting. Some people have interpretations of the Sopranos ending. I like that. Adam said, Jimmy, what did you think of the end discussion between Vimes and the Patrician? I loved it. So here's the thing. I think that pretty much every single thing in the book and the way it went and the way everything unfolded, like it felt like that's exactly how it should have went. And maybe that's like the mess of my person, is that sometimes whenever I feel like everything is so neat and puzzled, I'm like, okay, good. We're good. Like I just watched someone who's very masterful at piecing scenes together and creating a great story. But every now and then I just like a little bit of a curveball. And I don't know if I ever really got a super curveball. It's also probably not the series for that. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, okay. Sovereign Prince said, just started Color of Magic yesterday. Very much enjoying it. I've always heard that people are scared when people start with that. So I'm curious. If you're liking it, maybe I should go back. Yeah, Doug has it right. Yeah, if you like Color Magic, Pratchett's probably right in your wheelhouse. It's generally considered the weakest of the series. That's what I have heard. Laura's here to disagree with Kyle just based on principle, which I do respect. Mitch said the Sopranos ending was far from the most narratively shocking things David Chase did with that series. I don't get how someone can get the very end and that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. Mitch, it goes with my theory that honestly, people just really don't like endings. And in this, yeah, I have a whole thing about this, but I just don't think anyone likes endings. No one likes their favorite things to come to a close. It's a very difficult thing to swallow. And probably a reminder that everything will come to an end eventually. And some people have a really hard time dealing with that. But I want to jump into The End of the World. Oh, that was so good. The Blue Book of Nebo. And this book is first off, fantastic. This was another recommendation, and this one came from our good friend, UFC star Jordan Levitt, who I'll be buddy reading Shards of Earth with in August. Very, very excited about that. Thought about even messaging and be like, do you want to start it earlier? Because I'm in a sci-fi mood right now. This is like a 180-page book. It was translated from Welsh, and I didn't even notice any of the translation. I don't know what goes in the I thought it was fabulous. I loved the writing. I loved the whole thing. And this came up because I had told Jordan in Chatting with Nuts that I really love when a story is relayed through journal entries or like logging or like letters back and forth. I like that style of story. And again, it's like First Contact. It's something I'm just not reading enough of because I like it. So I should probably do more with it. This was exactly what I was talking about. This is post, it seems like maybe a nuclear disaster in the Welsh countryside, and it is a mother and her son and her daughter, and they now have to survive. Things have gotten very bad, and it is not the most eventful book. You're not going to have like gangs of people rolling up and then fighting them off, finding guns. No, it's almost no action. But it is journal entries, I guess you call them journal entries, from the son and the mom. And they're filling up this book. And the son has really done a good job of coping with the change, not longer having screens and cell phones and all of these things, maybe because he was so young when it happened, but he almost like embraced it, and the survivalist in him. And the mom is struggling with it, though she's strong in her own right. And the bounce back between their journal entries is so well done. It's so good. And I think that the distinction between them obviously offers like a variety to the experience, but it's also such a short book that it never overstays its welcome. I think some of you are going to find this book painfully boring. But me personally, I thought that it was great. I have a love for stories that are told like this, though, so there is that bias, and it is a post-apocalyptic novel, which I also tend to love very, very much. I think one of the things that I really connected with in this book is I have always had trouble as a person whenever like summer comes around. I've always had a problem because winter comes and I don't want to admit it that like, I'm restricted to what I can do, this and that. And then eventually I am defeated by winter and I accept it and I get used to sitting on my couch and whatever else. The only time I do anything is when I go to the gym every day, right? And I almost like start to hermit and I almost get comfortable with like not being in contact with anyone. And it's like very unhealthy, by the way. But then like summer rolls around and everyone's like going to the beach. Everyone's out, wants to do things. Everyone's excited. And I'm like, well, I'm not ready yet. Like I thought we agreed that we were no longer doing anything because it's miserably cold. I don't know why. It's always been a huge struggle for me. It's always caused my depression to worsen. Right around May, June. This is actually probably the best year for it. And I have a lot of reasons for that, why it's been better. Try as life might to knock me down, though. We're not letting it this time. There is something about the mom where you feel like just has to accept the fact that the world has changed forever, and she's trying not to long for the things that she used to have, though she'll let herself do it every now and then. And she has like a disdain for some of the optimism offered by like religious text and things from the past that promise certain things a certain way, and they couldn't deliver. Whereas you have this optimistic child who is embracing the survivalist piece and wants to know about these things. And then he starts like reading the Bible. He's really big into literature and tries to read to his younger sister. And there's a lot of mystery about like how the mom got to where she is. And it slowly unfolds through journal entries. And you can almost feel herself like working through her past and her traumas. And I just thought that it really resonated with me that I was reading about a woman who was not ready to like come out and move on, if that makes sense. And I'm trying not to say too much because I don't want to spoil the book. Though, to be honest, there's not a ton of plot here. Like it's not a plot-driven book. It is very like slice of life in the Welsh countryside after some sort of disaster. I loved it. I thought it was great. I am going to give this the nut button. This is tied with Childhood's End as book of the month. No overwhelmingly positives. I don't know if any of these books are going to make the year-end list. Maybe they will. I don't think they will. But I really, really enjoyed this. And God, do I want to read more journal entry style stories. So that was my experience with the Blue Book of Nebo. Honestly, didn't even realize it was a translated work until I think after I finished it. Certainly an author that I would love to see more from, if possible. B says, what's up, Jimmy? Good to see you. Good to see you, too. Did you ever read the end of the Foundation series? Grand finale of the series and book was so good. So I read the first trilogy. I did not continue, but I would like to, because I like Asimov's books. And I also had people recommending Asimov books a little bit earlier. So I would love to read more from him in any capacity. Rob Wanderer says, I think endings are the best part. I think people love a good ending when it happens. It just feels like it's so hard to pull off to satisfy everyone, because especially the longer a series, TV show, whatever it might be, goes on, the more varied the experience will be of what people are getting out of it. And if the ending does not speak to the experience that they were having, it can like falter, right? But whenever an ending's good, I mean, you know, an ending can make a book. I thought The Will of the Many was very like fine. And then the ending came and I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm in. Book 2, please, now. And I'm so excited. So excited for it. Brent said, damn, you're going to read Shards of Earth? Love to hear it. Yeah, me and Jordan will be reading it together. Hopefully we can have a discussion either on his channel or over here. Maybe I'll bring him back on Chat with Nuts. He was a fabulous guest. I'm very, very excited for Shards of Earth. Like maybe one of my most anticipated reads for the back half of the year at this point. Future Sunrise said he might be right about that, talking about endings. True Detective Season 1 got criticized for its ending, and that first season is basically perfect. I love the ending of that. And I remember whenever it came out, like as it was coming out, people were really mad about the ending, and I loved it. Yes, Shards of Earth by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I always get comments making fun of the way I say his name. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Red by Kyle said, I don't know about this. I think all of my favorite things have great endings that are finished. And I don't disagree. Like, yeah, it's probably true for you, but like, I bet you can find people who hate the endings of the things that you love. But I guess that's just the variance of experience. It's not a foolproof thing. I just have a lot of feelings about endings, and none of them are probably right, unfortunately. Mitch said, this cover looks like it was drawn that the artist, the One Piece that have been doing One Piece on slogging through. Mitch, I don't know what you tried to say there. That was rough. Lauren Spears said, nobody likes their favorite series ending. Gurm doing the Lord's work. Very based. Very, very based. I believe a lot of Lovecraft is told through writings or letters. I did not know that at all, actually. There are no beginnings or endings of the Wheel of Time. Just another rotation of that good old wheel. People, man, maybe the ending thing is like a good topic to bring up with somebody on Chatting with Nuts next time. Brady Spiker said, yes, I resist finishing things because I have a hard time accepting it's over. One of my flaws, consuming story. I think it's part of the reason why I love book 1 so much. Brady, I'm with you 100%. I love immersing myself into a new story. I rarely finish TV shows. Like one of my favorite series of all time, I haven't finished and never will, probably. Brady Coe said, I love endings. Can't stand series being milked. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like that. Rebecca Kyle said, Jimmy, read I Who Have Never Known Men. You will love it. This sounds in the same vein. Yeah, I believe Taylor, my friend Taylor, had recommended that. I picked it up because it's less than 200 pages, and that's kind of like my vibe. It's one that I would like to read. I think I'll probably love it. For sure. Oh, Annette, I read this month too, and I really liked it. Annette, did you pick it up because of the episode with Jordan? Can I be so presumptuous and egotistical to expect that? Or did you just pick it up on a whim? I would love to know. Be awesome. Doug said, for a disconnected narrative that you have to piece together yourself, you might want to try John Brunner's Stand on Zanzibar. Hugo winner from 1968. Prescient. Okay. Mrs. Nuts, could you write that one down for me? I would greatly appreciate that. I don't like epistolary narratives very much, but I'll add this to my list. I mean, it's so short, you probably won't have a problem with it. I read an awesome journal entry book recently, Flowers for Algernon, also La Paranesi, Journal Stories Rock. I'm with you, Ben, and I have not read Flowers yet, and I need to. Everyone has told me. The Library Ladder has told me that the short story is better than the novel. Controversial, I know. I own both. Mitch said, wants to read more epistolary, loves John Williams, has permanently backlisted Augustus, make it make sense. But it's about Rome, so I automatically didn't care. Putrid Sunrise. This book sounds like the author watched the excellent nuclear apocalyptic movie Threads and wrote the book based on that. Threads, by the way, is equal to The Road, in my opinion. Mrs. Nuts, can you also write down Threads for me as a movie that I should definitely watch? Holly says, I like open endings. Me too. Dang. Doug said, Flowers for Algernon is one of the best books ever written. I can't read it most days, though. I've heard a lot of people say that. Boy's Life has a great ending. Very cool. John says, it's scary getting to the end, especially if you've had a great experience. You don't want to be tainted. It can also go the other way and change the experience or enhance it even further, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a gamble, right? I mean, every single new chapter in a book or a new episode of a TV or season TV or whatever is kind of a gamble, risking everything that came before it. Unless, and this is how I am, usually I can look at an ending, even if it's a little bit jumbled, then I can say, well, it doesn't discount everything. Like, so a lot of people feel like if an ending is bad, it ruins everything prior. And I think that can be true for some stories. But for me, I find myself to be a lot more forgiving in that situation. Oh, Kyle said, oh, yes, I mean, endings are more important to some people and not as important to others. It tends to make or break for me. Okay. I got you. Like, kind of like what I just said. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I Have Never Known Men, definitely going to read. Like, it's very high on the TBR. Post-apocalyptic, too, I think, right? Dark One's Tain said, Jimmy, please read Flowers. I will. Blue Book of Nebo sounds good. We need more books about moms. This one is also very nuanced. I mean, it is... The mom can be very unlikable at times, but also just feels very realistic for the situation that she's been put in. And it's really, really tough. Also, I've never been to Wales, but it felt like, I don't know, I felt like I was in a different place, which was really cool. Man, people love Flowers for Algernon. Like, love it. Tony Patrick said, this is how I feel about the end of Realm of the Eldlings. I'm so excited to read it, but also anxious. So I love the ending. I do know some people who hate it, but I think that series is just so vast and separated in many ways, like compartmentalized in the series that, like, even if you don't like the ending, you probably wouldn't ruin a lot of the other stuff for you, but maybe you would. I don't know. Bonsai says, I think I've worked out I don't care much for endings. I can love a book, but for the last couple chapters when it is wrapping up, I just seem to go through the motions as I feel I have got the story. I feel you. Story of the Eye, Shorty Goaty. Mrs. Nuts, can you also write down Story of the Eye? And it's from Fever, so it's probably going to be pretty intense if I had to guess. Shall we get to the final book? And what was the third Patreon pick of last month? And that is The Wandering Inn. Listen, I didn't put Wandering Inn in the thumbnail because, honestly, I don't want the attention. Wandering Inn is super popular. A lot of people love this story. It is one of the fastest growing fandoms, I think, online, at least in the fantasy community. And it was a web serial. I think it started in like 2016 and went through some transformations. And this story could not be less for me. You have a young lady protagonist, Erin, right? I think that was her name. I read this fairly early in the month, like second week, and I DNF'd it after like 8 to 10 chapters or something like that. I didn't like this at all. This girl gets transported to a world. There's a bunch of crazy things happening, things attacking her like goblins. She cleans, she levels up. It's a lit RPG, so there's like a leveling system and everything. Independent of that, I mean, whether or not that's your thing doesn't matter. I think that this book is just absolutely not for me in any facet. I think if you enjoy the stream of thoughts that go through, I almost want to call it a stream of consciousness, through the main character's head and like being transported to a different world, and you kind of like that. I can understand if you're like a fan of web serial, waking up I don't know when it comes out, every day, every Monday, whatever it is, and waking up, reading the chapter and be like, okay, cool. That's what the character's doing. Moving on. I can actually see how someone could just like roll with it, but sitting down and trying to experience this all at once as a narrative, I didn't get very far, and I really intended to try to get to like 25, 50% of the way through. This is a long audio book. One of the roadblocks that I ran into, by the way, is that there are, I believe, 3 different versions of this book. There is the ebook on Amazon, which is considered the worst version, I think. And these are just the versions I know of. There's the Audible version, which is revised, but is not the final. And I had someone who had read it said that the Audible version actually is the finalized version. That is not true. I confirmed this on Audible. Audible tells you this is not the final revised version. The final revised version that I know of is actually on the author's website. So that was already pretty annoying because I started with the ebook and was like I thought I was getting pranked. Like I try not to be super mean, but like I thought the writing in the ebook was horrible. And I was just like, okay, well, this is a web serial. Like maybe this isn't the final. And it turns out, yeah, okay, Audible. Everyone said go to Audible. It's much better. And I did. And I will say the Audible version is about 10 times better than what I read on the ebook. But with that said, it's still probably my least favorite thing I have ever read in my life. It's either this or 11th Cycle. I mean, I don't know. I felt like I could not accept the character's thoughts and just being like, I should do this, but I can't. I'm tired. I'll lay down. Maybe one day I'll do that. And I'm just like, oh my God, it was a whole page of her considering doing something and then not doing it. Repetitive word choices. Like I just looked at it and I was just like, yeah, this does seem like something that was probably written like live in the moment. Maybe it's been revised a few times, but it just very much feels like you're in this person's head moment to moment, but that person just happens to be, for me personally, insufferable and dumb. And I love dumb characters. There's a ton of dumb characters that I'm a really big fan of. This is not one of them. And it's not for me. It's not for me. I did not like the writing. I thought the writing was not good. Not good at all. And that's so disappointing. This is the only time I've ever rated anything this negatively. And I'm not doing it a rant review or any of this stuff, to get like clicks. This is just my experience with it. I really dislike this book. I'm happy for all those who love it. I'm pumped for you. You have a lot of words to read, and I'm sure that it gets better. Most things do as it goes on. Not everything, most things. And this is obviously a writer that's like still learning and could grow, but I'm not going to be around to find out. Simple as that. Did not like it. Never want to read it. And honestly, was definitely a massive, massive, massive impact on my reading slump. Because for me, I take a look around at like just the things that are really hot right now. Dungeon Crawler Carl, Wandering In, anything Sanderson does. And like none of these things seem to be like for me, which is fine. I don't need the genre to like pander to me or anything. Like I have plenty of stuff to read. But it's disappointing. It's just like really disappointing. I'm just like, man, maybe like I just don't get it. Now I will say this. I don't really want to lump in Wandering In with Dungeon Crawler Carl or even Sanderson stuff. Like it is like, there is a ocean between these things for me and my taste and enjoyment. Like I thought Dungeon Crawler Carl was fine. I thought it was okay. Sanderson books, I mean, it's a whatever experience. Like it's a good or bad or terrible. I don't know. I don't know. It sucks. It sucks. And I feel a little, I guess, like let down, a little left out. I would love to be a part of something that is like, has this many fans that are so passionate and like love this series. Like I would love to be part of that. It'd be sick. So for me personally, probably my least favorite thing I have ever read. And I did not finish it. So if you feel like my opinion does not matter, I totally understand. And you are free to feel that way. But for me personally, it's probably the most unenjoyable thing I've ever read, which is unfortunate. I'm trying not to be like a rant reviewer, but I also need to like solidify the fact that I felt this way. So let's see how many people I disappointed in the chat. It's never very fun. And by the way, if you like it, I'm genuinely happy for you, for sure. If you do a video on bad endings, it would be interesting if you have that any that retroactively ruined the book for you. I feel like that for thrillers, but I think that's a feature of the genre, not a bug. So top of my head, I feel as if there is none, but I could be wrong. I would have to really sit down and think about it. So, I said bin wrong. Shod, earmuffs, yes. And I know, this is a patron pick. I don't like dunking on a patron pick because while this was on the patron pick, I think some folks might, like, I don't know if people thought I would in earnest enjoy this, but the person who picked this, Zach, loves this series. I think really wanted me to enjoy it. So I don't rejoice in the fact that I dislike someone's pick for me. It sucks, to be honest. It sucks. Jimmy said he don't want that smoke. I don't want attention for the wrong reasons. You know what I'm saying? I love when a description is just not for me. I was trying to be remotely positive, I guess. Doug said, I'm moderately positive wandering in. It's never a priority, but haven't regretted my time with it. Yeah, and honestly, like I said, if you're reading this bits at a time, I could see it being fine. But sitting down and what a 40 or 50 hour audiobook for part 1, I was just like, man, there is no way I'm making it any further. And it got to the point where it's like, I might just not read anymore this month if I don't DNF this bad boy. So I just threw the DNF sticker on it and moved on. So Dylan said, whoever put that as a Patreon pick is an absolute book terrorist. It's a bold choice. It's a bold choice. Oh my goodness. What in the world? What was happening when you DNF'd? She had beat up some goblins. What was the last scene? It's like it might have been chapter 7. I made it somewhere between chapter 6 and 10. I read this earlier in the month. Lucas Williams said, better make your Patreon pick shorter. Jimmy is bringing out the hammer. I am actually very much considering putting a page limit on Patreon picks moving forward because just... it's depressing. Noel said, hoping this is one of those 2-hour long streams, just made it here. Well, I'm glad you're here. I don't know how long I will go. I don't want to run it too long, but I am very glad that you're here and here live. I don't know how this has such a fandom. I really, really don't get it. I think what I would like to do, Brian, is talk to people who love this series and ask them what they feel about. Like tell me why. Not in the sense of tell me how could you ever? Because I always feel like that's kind of accusatory or aggressive, but genuinely interested in hearing what people who love the series think about. I didn't really go scouring reviews because I honestly just wanted to be done with it. I'd rather go to work than read that. That's brutal. Oh, there's 2 protagonists, a more cynical one, but a second one starts on chapter 18. Well, I did not get that far. And to be fair, very early DNF, but just based on the writing, I was not having any of it. After the trauma of wandering in, are Patreon reads going to be changed all short stories? Man, do I wish. I love short stories. This is the first overwhelmingly negative review. And I don't love it. I don't love being negative. Bonza, it is thundering so bad, my house is shaking. Bonsai said, I got about 40 to 50 chapters into Wandering In a year ago and wanted to like it, but eventually was just what are we doing here? The answer was not a lot. My time better spent elsewhere. Yeah, the amount of page time and words that were going to just very repetitive inner thoughts. I nothing about it. I think if you like the main character, Aaron, I believe is her name, then you will probably be yeah, I'm along for the ride. I just was not. Unfortunate. Jimmy Quick, this or 11 Cycle worst of all time. At least 11 Cycle had some Dark Souls inspiration. And by inspiration, I mean genuinely one-for-one ripped off of. Should have done a vlog for this. It wouldn't have been that long. Also, the chapters felt so long. Tell me you didn't have to spend an Audible credit on this. I don't think I did. I think it was free to add to my library. I'm pretty sure. Which, the fact that it wasn't the most revised version is such a bummer. A fan of this series once said, as a selling point, that it introduces at some point real-world American electoral politics and cheeseburgers like there was some groundbreaking shit. If you want fourth wall breaks, just read Dark Tower, right? Phrases never used about Wandering In. Tightly crafted, economical, and focused. I still had fun, though. Hey, that's all that matters. And what's the opposite of the nut button? Probably the butt button. Oh, Dylan. Yeah, gets it. Brent says, Dungeon Crawler Crawl was butt cheeks, but it's Pulitzer stuff compared to Ben. The bust button. Redback also, Jimmy trying his absolute best to remain a gentleman and a scholar while hating something with every particle of his being is very amusing. I try to always be respectful for the folks that do like it because, you know, I don't want to be that guy. But yeah, I did not like it. So glad I'm not the only one that thought this was terrible. There are a few of us, I would say. Noel says, stand 10 toes down on your opinion. I will. Ishin said, surprised one of the tags on the graphic isn't a 2-pack of ass. The fact that someone remembered 2-pack of ass from chatting with Nuts makes me very, very happy. Did you at least like the narration of The Wandering Inn? The audiobook? Yeah. I thought the narrator was fine. I actually was excited when I switched to the audiobook because I was like, oh, I'll probably be able to like, you know, kind of roll through it a little bit more, but whew, not so much. Can't believe you feel that way about The Leftovers and still haven't finished it yet. Yeah, I love The Leftovers and never watched the final season. Or the final 3 episodes, I should say. Come on, Jimmy, let out your inner Kendrick. Wop, 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 wop. Next Patreon pick will be A Little Wandering Life. That would be the end of me. Hello, Joanna. Great to see you. Very good to see you. Tony Patrick, have you ever read Kushel's Dart? I think I'm reading it. Yes, I have. I liked it. Not my favorite, but I liked it a lot. The writing's excellent. Samwise, thank you for the 10 spots. Said, money for Jimmy to nab a copy of City of Thieves by Benioff, a.k.a. Great Slump Buster. Well, thank you very much. I will go and pick up City of Thieves. I'm not guaranteeing I'll even read it this year, but I will go pick it up with the super chat, and that was very kind of you, Sam. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate it. Yeah, the thunder outside is absolutely bananas right now. Like, bananas. Jenna Rose Reed said, I felt like Aaron is very high anxiety coded. Yeah, I can see that. I've read some other books that have anxiety or OCD as, you know, as what the main character is like experiencing. And I, if this is supposed to be high anxiety, I don't know how much I enjoyed the portrayal of it, I would say. Brent said, I changed my Patreon pick to a very short book with an adaptation coming out, but unfortunately it will not be picked. Hey, I would love for it to be picked, especially if it's short. You would have hated it if you kept going. There's genuinely a plot in there where she teaches creatures chess. I was warned about the chess pieces, and I was not super excited. Do you see any parallels between the success of Wandering Inn and the recent ills that befallen us globally? Oh, is this where I talk about anti-intellectualism and how like TikTok's not for readers or something like that? Jared Henderson's in the house. Said, did I miss the Wolf Hall review? No, you have not, my friend. You have not. Jared, we need to talk. You and I got some things to ask of you. Ben said, I think encountering a worst of all time level read every now and then is very helpful in clearing one's taste. Yeah, probably. There also, I mean, I will say this. There's books that I wish I would have came across a little bit more negative on in the past. Now that my tastes have changed, but also doing like a retroactive, like, hey, let me tell you actually how much more I hate this book now that I've thought about it for 3 years doesn't seem very tasteful. Not the kind of stuff I'm around for. Folks, we've been on for only an hour and 20. I feel like I've been up here for a while. So we are now going to do the best part of the month, which is the Patreon pick of the month. And I have to pull this screen over here so I can actually read these. Big shout out to Mrs. Nuts for automating this, figuring all of this out. It's very, very helpful. Last month. Oh, hold on, folks. Stromboli would have been so upset. I actually want to cover this before we go into the Patreon picks, because last month the Patreon picks ended up being a Hobbit trilogy movie edit. Okay. So I was like, okay, well, it has to be a book. So I picked Derry. Derry had put down on the Patreon wheel a sequel to whatever series that you want to read. And I was like, that's not, I don't know. I would like to pick something. So I said, let's do a Terry Pratchett book. She loves Discworld. Derry loves Discworld. So I'd read a Guard's Guard. Good. So I drew a third book to get like a definitive book title and everything, which was The Wandering Inn. And so, yeah, this month was, I'm so glad June's over. But I have to talk about this edit. So for those of you who do not know, there was a trilogy of the Hobbits, Hobbit movie trilogy back in the day, right? Peter Jackson, all this good stuff. I've watched the films. I really liked the first one. It's a little bit treading the same ground as Fellowship of the Ring, but like so are the books, kind of. Really, really liked it. I think most people would say the least movie one's good or decent. Movies 2 and 3 are like weird and kind of like bloated and in some ways just felt like a cash grab. Like I don't think it left a great taste in people's mouths. People talk about Lord of the Rings trilogy. They don't talk about the Hobbit trilogy. With that said, there are some beautiful scenes in that. So my good friend, my boy, Stromboli Bones, has created a fan edit of these movies. And it is called someone said, I walked out of the third one. I don't blame you. It's called the War of the Five Edits, and it's on Stromboli, like the food, strombolibones.com. You can go check it out. And it is created as a 5-part miniseries. And the episodes, right around an hour, give or take. And I thought this edit was awesome. I don't think it's necessarily going to be like the most perfect thing in the world. Like there's some things that kind of happen fast, but the alternative of sitting through a lot of the bloat of those movies, it's so much better. I stand by the fact that I still like the first Hobbit movie. That was rather good. This fan edit was really good. And a crazy thing is that Stromboli Bones is actually, from what I know, had never done any editing of this, but like could see a story within that story that was like, this could be good. It could be at least serviceable. And I think he did a fabulous job. I genuinely really got into it. I was kind of like, do I really want to experience this again? But I realized I forgot so much of books 2 and 3, but it was good. It was really good. If you have never watched the Hobbit movies, I'm actually going to suggest that you watch this edit to experience it. But I'm also going to tell you that if you watched it, you hated movies 2 and 3, but like you wish you liked it, this is the thing that you should give a go to. About 5 hours split up into episodes. You could watch an episode a night for 5 nights and then you're done. And I do think that it was a lot more enjoyable. It moves a lot faster, cuts out a lot of the fluff. Some of the cuts, he's dealing with what he has. He can't go reshoot things. So like there were some cuts that I really felt as if it was almost like jumping ahead in time or like a scene or a setting where I was like, whoa, okay, we're good. Like I had to get my footing. But this was good. I really enjoyed it. So if you want to go back to Middle Earth and, you can always, of course, watch the original trilogy of Lord of the Rings, but you want to try out Hobbit. That does, by the way, I forgot how stunning some of the scenes in the movie are. CGI was whatever in some parts, but I'm talking about like just setting and these certain shots. You forget that like, man, there is some amazing scenes in there that are, for me, breathtaking and do feel like the original trilogy. And I think if this is probably the quintessential way of experiencing that Hobbit trilogy, if you would want to. And I'm not just saying that because Stromboli Bones has been around for a while. Like, if I didn't like it, I would say it. I did enjoy it very, very much. So you can go check it out, strombolibones.com, and watch it. You can download it. 5 episodes, totally worth it. What a weird Patreon pick, but honestly was really great because as my reading slump was happening, I was watching a lot more movies, and this was probably one of my favorite things that I watched this month, which is really great. If anything, I wish I hadn't waited so long. I think Stromboli's been around for like 2 or 3 years, been asking me to watch this edit, and I should have done it a lot sooner. So highly recommend it, especially if you did not like movies 2 and 3 of The Hobbit. I think that this fan edit makes them way more digestible and way more enjoyable. So let's get to the Patreon pick, which, I'm crossing my fingers that we don't have any snafus. I know people are probably cheering for the chaos because it was super duper entertaining, but Stromboli Bones in the chat. What's up, Stromboli? Good to see you, man. Yeah, it's generally insane that they made The Hobbit into 3 epic films. It's a 300-page children's book. I totally agree with you. Noel said, I'd only watched the first Hobbit movie when I was in 6th grade. I didn't like it because I had just read the book and it didn't feel the same. Something made me upset. I don't remember. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't feel the same. Legolas showing up and all this other stuff. It's pretty wild. Did he make Radagast the main character? Not quite. Not quite, unfortunately. We're going to do the Patreon pick of the month. So, very important to note, if you are selected and you have not updated your pick, or it's a book I've already read, I am just going to straight up move to the next. I'm just going to draw another ball. If we can work out something offline, maybe I'll try to fit in something that you pick, but it is imperative that you update your Patreon pick if you are a Patreon member. And this list is very long. it is very, very long. But it is also just a sign of support from people and people who enjoy what I do here. And it means everything to me that there are people who, want to support this and keep it going. And it makes me feel like maybe sometimes I'm providing some sort of value that people would want to continue to see this thing go. And it does. It helps out a lot. So without any further ado, let's see what no Kev pick. If Kev is not on the list, it means that when Kelsey pulled the patron list that he was not a part of the Night's Watch or Kingsguard, is my guess. I will confer with my administrator, Mrs. Nuts, after the stream. So let's find out what I'll be reading in July. I'm hoping it's under 300 pages, and I hope that it's a book I have not read. That would be fantastic. High drama. All right. Hope you get Lonesome Dove. Honestly, kind of hope I do too. I would love to read Lonesome Dove. I just never know when to fit it in. You know what I'm saying? I do have another chunky book to read this month. My nose itches. And the winner is number 28. And that is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amel El Mole. I probably said that so wrong. And this is Scott B., who's been around for a minute. And I will be checking this one out. This is a sci-fi book. I have heard so many mixed things about this book. I have heard some people absolutely hate it. I've heard some people really, really love it. I don't know if I've seen many 3 stars of this book. I don't think it's horrendously long. Someone should check the page count for me. That'd be swell. But Scott, congratulations. How You Lose a Time War. No drama here. No repicking. No multiple picks. I'll be honest with you. That's kind of a relief. So, Belltube said, I've heard of 3 books on the list. Yeah. I will say, I do pride myself on the fact that the amount of variety on this list is so crazy that I like the fact that people who like many different things can come together in one community and hopefully feel somewhat, included or happy or whatever. I think that that's pretty good. Yeah, I can already see down the chat people saying this book is ass. Some people are saying it's awesome. Dark One Saint said it's actually a perfect pick right now. Amanda agreeing with Kyle. That's a rarity. So strong feelings on both sides of the fence. Where will I land? Probably right in the middle, because that's what I do. Yeah, How to Lose the Time War. This was certainly not on my TBR. I'm just gonna be 100 with you. I mean, I'd heard of it. I'd heard some people like it, whatever. I was not expecting to read that anytime soon, or if ever. I believe that I have the ebook, maybe, which, yes, you're saying, but Jimmy, you just said you weren't going to read it. Why did you buy the ebook? It's because I have a problem. And I'm trying to resize this stupid screen so I can put it on my secondary monitor. Oh my goodness. All right. We're not moving it. Sorry, folks. So that means that we will be checking out How to Lose Time War. I am also going to be finishing The Passage by Justin Cronin, which I am over halfway through and absolutely loving it. Like loving it. It's taken me a long time, but it's a huge book. Honestly, would love to read the sequel this year. Depending, I don't think the last 30% is going to blow it. So loving The Passage. And I'm also reading Mountain and Sea by Ray Naylor. It's about octopuses being our first contact with another intelligent species. And it is a little out there. It's a little sciencey, but I love it. I love it so far. I'm really a big fan. Ray Naylor just had a new book come out, or is having a book come out. I don't know anything about it, but maybe I'll check it out if it's awesome. I also am reading another book that I have to highlight here, and I actually brought it up from the library downstairs. Rune Lords by David Farland. I've been talking about this for a while, so you guys have probably already heard me talk about it, but this is one that I've had recommended to me specifically because I really enjoy magic systems where people feed off other people. I think it's just interesting. Rage of Dragons kind of has a little something like this. Like the sorcerers that empower people and enrage them. Will of the Many, I guess, would also fall into that. It's just, I don't know, kind of a cool little neat thing to play with. So David Farland is someone that Brandon Sanderson takes a ton of inspiration from and is, said that is one of his favorite authors. And the magic system, I guess, is very much like that. Like you're kind of like giving up some of yourself to empower this person. So we're going to try this out. There's a lot of books in this series. There's like 2 distinctive arcs from what I know, like a first generation, then the next generation. I am not pledging to read any more than just book 1. If I like this book enough, I will continue with the second one in August. If I don't, then it's over. And I've heard mixed things about the sequels. I heard pretty much unanimously all people are like, oh no, it's the sequels are so bad. Don't read them. But no, I got a couple comments that are saying, hey, those sequels, not so bad. I think it was Nico's Books Reviews said, hey, he enjoyed the sequels. Maybe you should give him a shot. Maybe I will. But it all hangs in the balance of how much I enjoy this book. I'm so excited, guys. I'm so excited. I am dying to jump in and get immersed in like a new fantasy world. Like I am longing for that escapism right now where I am in life. And that's one of the reasons why Wandering was so disappointing, because I was willing to be lost in it, but I kept getting distracted by how much I hated the writing. So I am very hopeful for this. I have read the first chapter whenever I got this book probably a year ago now, and I liked the first chapter quite a bit. So I'm going to be diving in with the Rune Lords. There's a bunch of people, I shouldn't say a bunch. There are many people who said they were going to read it in my Discord. I don't know if they are, because when it's time to put up or shut up, people drop out. I don't know. But I do think there's going to be quite a few people that are going to join me for this. I'm actually inviting you, if you're watching this right now, if you want to pick this up and read this month, I would love for you to come back into the next In a Nutshell when we wrap up July and to tell me how you felt about this. It's about the closest thing I've ever had to a read along here on the channel. So get in while the getting's good. Who knows if I'll go to book 2. It has to be, quite good for me to continue, because there's a lot of other series I would like to do. This is about 600 pages. There's a lot of words on the page. It doesn't seem like it's that big. But I'm just going to be honest. I'm just willing to completely immerse myself in the world. I want to have weird city names, weird character names. I want to have to like look at a glossary. I want it all. Like I want a good old fantasy read, like an epic fantasy read. So I'm trying not to put too much pressure on this book or too many stakes on this book, but I'm really counting on it. Like I hope it's great. And if it's very good, that would be acceptable as well. By the way, I mean, look at this cover. Like, does this just not get you excited to mispronounce some character names? Because it gets me fired up for it. So Rune Lords will be read this month. I'll finish the passage. I will read How to Lose the Time War. And then the final book will be Mountain in the Sea by Ray Naylor. Now, I could read more than that. I don't know what it will be. It'll be a mood thing, whatever I want to end up picking up. The one thing I've kicked around, and I think I talked about this maybe on Chatting with Nuts, and I kind of wanted to run this by folks here in the chat, is Broken Binding is sending me books every month, right? I'm not getting to them all at one time, but some of these books, because I'm on a subscription, like not every book I get is one that I've read. I have kicked around the idea of maybe starting some sort of like Broken Binding read along, like when the books get sent out. But I don't know how many people in my audience are like subscribed to Broken Binding. And I know a lot of you are here that aren't even like diehard fantasy readers. You're here for literary fiction or like post-apocalyptic, or you just like my big forehead. I don't really know, honestly, why anyone's here, but you are. So I don't know. I kicked around that idea. I thought that would be kind of cool. I don't know. Just something I'm floating around in my head. Broken Binding should sponsor it as the official read along. Someone's going to take that and it'll be on some bigger YouTube channel here. So we're good. We're good. We didn't get a 1,000-page book off the Patreon wheel. I'm very happy about that. Oh, hey, it's also letters. So Jimmy was manifest that. Wait, How to Lose Time War is letters? Oh, I might like this. And it's 198 pages. Ooh, my goodness. I love it. Jared said, book is kind of meh with some occasional good lines, some stinkers too, though. I'll be very, very curious to see how I like it. Bat said, How to Lose Time War is a mood. Not everyone likes mood books. Not always easy to understand the action at the moment. A lot of people will find it beautiful. I think I have heard that it has extremely purple prose, which I'm kind of curious to see how I land with. Noel said, luckily, a lot of us have a book buying problem, so this is a safe space. Thank God. Scotty B, damn, just popped in at the end of the chat and for the pick. Congrats, dude. Congrats. K-Fox said, I'm so glad you're enjoying Mountain and the Sea so far. I am really, really enjoying it. And I'm so excited to watch Quinn's Ideas video he just put out about it, which is not why I picked it up. I picked it up because someone recommended it in the chat in one of my streams. And I read the description, was like, that sounds really interesting. And then as I ordered the book, Quinn came out with a video. And I love watching Quinn's Ideas videos. He's so good. Magic systems where you feed off other people, like in Book of the New Sun. I see what you did there. That's wild. Yes, Daryl K. Sweet goated cover. Absolutely. And Sarah Beth said she liked all of Rune Lords. So she's someone that's sticking up for all the arcs. Kev said, I'm going to read it. Jimmy, chill out. I mean, I'm just saying. Feeling flaky. That's all. How to Rune the Time War. I like it. Jimmy, you've read part of Wheel of Time? Yeah, I've read the first 5 books. Yes. And I'll be dead honest with you. Like, for like the last 6 months, it feels like I've been getting kind of pulled back into Wheel of Time, like wanting to read it, even though it's not my favorite. I have a lot of complaints about it. Just desperate for like, you know, an immersive world. And Wheel of Time, even though I don't love it, for all intents and purposes, there were definitely moments in that series where I was very immersed. And immersion is something that I'm dying for right now. So, Putrid Sunrise said, I'm here for the 4-head. You mean the 6-head, I believe, is what we came to the conclusion on in one of the one of the streams. Dark One Saint said that's exactly why I said it's perfect. Very cool. Very, very cool. Ty said, Broken Binding subscriber right here, and I still need to read the last 8 books or so. Sci-fi subscriber as well. Yeah, I ended up not doing the sci-fi one just because I felt so bad that I was getting all these books I haven't read, you know. Seth Plato said, also here for the 4-head, and it's not getting shorter. Jesus Christ. Just banging me right now. Joanna said, I own The Mountain and the Sea. Well, that's cool. You should read it. I'm only like 160 pages in. You should definitely read it with me. Let's do an impromptu buddy read. Be spontaneous, Joanna. Live a little. Wouldn't you? Will you start Tanith Lee now that I've lit the beacons with her? I actually own, I think, 3 of those novels based on my friend Zan's recommendation. And Mitch, you liking them does bode well. But I still need to read Unsold by Ishiguro, which you have also told me that you think I would love. So Tony Patrick said, I would love to see Gurum write a novel in the Elden Ring universe. Me too, Tony, but woo, the internet would be mad. Rob Wander said, Wheel of Time does and well, just have to get through the slog, but it's worth it. I will say, I feel like I've heard most people, even detractors from the series that end up reading it, liking the ending, which is honestly great. That's good to hear. And I remember, Rob, earlier you said that endings are like your favorite part of the story, so I can imagine that has a lot of weight for you. So, Tanith Lee, Joanna, read Mountain and the Sea with me. So that's it. So that's pretty much all I'm going to be reading. Passage, Mountain and the Sea, How to Lose Time War, and Rune Lords. Out of all of those, I mean, I'm already reading the Passage and Mountain and the Sea, but I am the most excited for Rune Lords. What book do I think will be the best out of the bunch? Probably The Passage by Justin Cronin. I'm so excited that they're sequels. I hope that they are actually good. I hope. I really, really hope. Fever said, will you continue Jenny Wirtz even though I haven't lit the beacons with her? I will not continue Words of Light and Shadow, I don't think, but I do want to read, I'll probably try to ride Hell's Chasm, and I also really want to read the Empire trilogy with her and Feist, but I'm actually considering reading Feist, the first Magician's trilogy, because I had the Broken Binding. The second book just came today. It's beautiful. So I am thinking that I might read that trilogy and then do the Empire trilogy, because the Empire trilogy has always been the thing I'm most interested in from her, but I do not expect myself to continue Words of Light and Shadow. I read the first 2, and that was enough for me. The slog isn't real. We're not doing this, folks. We're not arguing about the slog. Doug said Wheel of Time's ending was memorable, mostly for doing exactly what I expected and finally ending the long series. It is quite long. It is kind of long. Yeah. All right, folks. That's what I'm reading. I would love, for people watching after the fact, I would love for you to chime in on the books that I read, the books I'm going to be reading, and then also what you're reading and what you read, which would be fantastic. Noelle asks, hot take alert. I mean, I do believe that Words of Light and Shadow has to be like one of the most unanimously loved things on YouTube. But for me personally, it's just it ain't for me. It ain't for me, unfortunately. A lot of people say Memory of Light was worth the wait, even if they didn't like the slog. I don't know. Maybe I should get back to Wheel of Time at some point. It would at least make for some interesting streams, I would imagine. So, folks, here's the thing. We're doing this on Tuesday, holiday week here in the U.S. I had my first ever golf tournament with Mrs. Nuts on Friday. Very excited about that. I am planning on hopefully getting two episodes of Chatting with Nuts this month before we do our next wrap-up. But it is also going to be a little bit difficult because I got some stuff going on. But we will see. I'm hoping to do 2 episodes. One is going to be with a guest that will remain unnamed for now. It's not like some huge famous person, so I'm just waiting to announce it. And then I believe our good friend Jared Henderson will be coming back on the stream on Chatting with Nuts after that. So very, very excited. Who knows? Maybe I'll even upload a regular video. I don't think anyone watches those anymore because I'm the streaming guy. But I hope that you enjoyed this stream, even if you're watching it after the fact. I love providing some sort of long form content for people to put on and listen to the background while they're working, or if you are on a Tuesday night and you're sitting on the couch and you want to nerd out about some books and get motivated to read, I hope that's what this was for you. I have no idea what I am doing in my life, and I have no idea what I'm doing here, but I am glad that I am here, and I'm glad that you were here, and I am fired up to read. I think the slump is over. I think it's over for me. And I'll be honest, even though I'm already reading Mountain in the Sea and Passage, I'm tempted to crack this bad boy open tonight. I'm probably not going to because I shouldn't, but I kind of want to. So, folks, it's been wonderful being here with you live. Also wonderful to have you here if it's after the fact. I am very excited for what's going to come into this month. And I think the next wrap-up will be a good one. Maybe a return of Mrs. Nuts, potentially, possibly. We'll see. I feel like she needs to wrap up. She read some Patron picks. I feel like she needs to come in and tell us about her experience with the wheel, the wicked wheel. As it would be. But thanks for being here. Thanks for watching Effect, whatever. If you like the video, you can hit like. If you dislike it, you can also hit dislike. If you're wondering, InFan, I am so sorry. I love that you love it. But you can also hit dislike if it made you upset. I would understand that. If you love it, you can think about subscribing, or if you want to have long hatred for me, you can also hit subscribe and troll me at every potential chance that you get, which would be great. There is a Patreon in the description. It's optional, but always appreciated. And until we see you next time, remember to be good, be safe, and remember to always keep turning the page.